and to talk about it, and that is on the subject of real estate. And Elena is going to introduce a very capable guest on today. But I believe that one of the great challenges that we face in this season with the COVID pandemic is that people could not understand how they were going to get out of the financial situation they had gotten themselves into. People weren't sure they were going to be able to make it through the season. And someone asked, how are we and what are we doing? Because we've always been effective in the community. What are we doing to help the community? I said, we're doing Money Monday. Because we want to teach people during this season that if anything breaks out, and it's sure to happen again, how to be more prepared for it from a financial perspective. And we have very, very talented guest that's going to help us to understand this so that we can make probably what we believe is the wisest investment you can with your money in this season, and that is through real estate. Elena, thank you for inviting these incredible guests. Elena Fingal is with Organized Money, and she's one of the best in the business when it comes to organizing your money. She's invited our guests to share with us today, so she's going to introduce them. And I'm gonna sit here with pen and paper, ready to learn some stuff myself on how to take our lives to the next level. Greetings to you, Elena.
Hello, sir. Hello. Thank you all so much for joining us on today. My name is Elena Fingal, and I am the founder of the Organized Money, which is a company that helps you get your money organized so that you can go after your goals, go after the things that you want. We, as Bishop said, we started Money Monday just so it could be a free resource to you to help you get stuff in order, get the things that you want, know the knowledge that you need in order to go after your financial goals. And one of those big goals is real estate. You may be wanting to purchase your first home, or you may even want to get into investment property. And we have 3 specialists in each in their own individual area that will help us navigate this pandemic, navigate all the things that we need to do in order to get to the next level. First, I'm going to look for Sage Thompson, who is on with us, and I wanted her to come on and give us a little intro about herself. Tell us about your background, Sage, and what's your specialty?
All right, I had to unmute myself. Hello, everybody. I'm Sage Thompson. I have been a real estate agent now for 3 years. My background is healthcare and hospitality. I have been working at for many, many years, maybe about 8 to 10 years. And real estate has always been something that I've desired to do, desired to be a part of, but comfortable on my job. Loss of job kind of pushed me into my purpose, and here I am. I'm doing real estate full time now, and I'm excited. I'm extremely excited to be a part of this panel, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Sage. Next on the panel is Miss Demi Miller. Demi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and your specialty with real estate?
Hi, I'm Demi Miller. I have been a realtor for almost 4 years. This July will make 4 years that I've actually held my real estate license. I've been working in property management through my business outside of real estate, and that's how I actually joined the real estate team because of working with realtors and contractors. They motivated me and encouraged me to get my license because a lot of what I was doing was already in property management, in which to have a real estate license, you can be an official property manager. So that's kind of how I started doing things with realtors as far as setting up their listings, helping them prepare for open houses. With contractors, I was doing construction cleanup. So that's kind of where my love for real estate began, and I just stepped out on faith, and it's been pretty amazing helping first-time home buyers pursue their dreams, encouraging them and inspiring them to go for things that some of them thought that would never happen. I'm a living witness that, you know, hard work does pay off, and that's what I try to instill in all my first-time home buyers.
And our last guest is Dr. Danette O'Neal. Dr. O'Neal, please tell us about your background, your specialty, and everything that everyone needs to know about you.
Well, the things that are important is that, hi everybody, thanks for having me, Bishop Love, Elena, I really appreciate this. Well, 30 years in the business. We started here, right here in New Orleans, Louisiana. I have a satellite office in Mississippi and another full-fledged office in Atlanta, Georgia. We do residential property management. We do the hard stuff. We work with people who nobody else will work with. On a national level, I am the international conference chair for the National Association of Realtors. I am for Louisiana. I am the president of the Louisiana Realtors Women's Council here. So that's a big honor. Broke some barriers, first Black. Next year, I'll be the liaison for the entire state. Again, the first Black woman to hold that particular position. I work on the policy side in DC, creating opportunities, making sure money is here so that home buyer programs are fully funded, making sure that some entities stay out of the business so that we realtors have an opportunity to work with buyers and give them a personal touch. My PhD is in public policy administration. I teach public policy and business courses and design them for colleges all across the United States and ongoing for Strayer University and for Morris Brown College.
Awesome. So as you guys know, this is a question and answer session. If you have a question for any one of our panelists, please use that chat box. Please, please, please put your question there. We will be rotating and I will be checking the chat box often. We did ask for questions as you were registering and y'all did send a maximum of questions. So we're going to start with those. But if you have any additional questions on investment property, first-time owners, or anything, please put that chat box. So I'm going to start with Ms. Danette. Can you tell us, is this still, as we're going through this pandemic, everything that we're currently going through as a nation, is it still a good time to purchase a home?
It is an excellent time. When the pandemic first hit, we thought that the market was going to slow down. It's probably the only industry that did not slow down. We have been out almost every day, still trying to find out how we're going to protect ourselves, but the buyers are out there. One of the main reasons why the market didn't slow down is because the interest rate remained so very low. I can do a commercial loan right now. In fact, commercial loans up to like $18 million for in the 2%. That's unheard of. The residential interest rate has remained, it has dropped from the high threes or even 4.3% now to the mid threes. I could do a loan for 3.25%. That has kept the market very active. And so we have not slowed down. Many people thought that they were going to hold on, that they were going to be able to get a house at a good price. Not so, because we already had a shortage of housing in the market. And so with that combined with the interest rates remaining low, the pandemic did not affect the housing market at all. There's still a scarcity and the buyers are there. What did happen is that the credit criteria changed a bit. And so it's harder for us to get those people with 580 credit scores or 620 credit scores in. So now you really need to have a 640 on up to get it. Not that the other is impossible, but I may not be able to get the home buyer assistance. The soft second money is still out there. That's a $50,000 benefit for anybody who just buys in Orleans. Now, in the other states, they have different programs, but those programs usually give about 5%. I'm sorry, $5,000. If you are a first responder, those programs have always been there, and we usually can get maybe about $6,500 for home buyer assistance. If I ask the seller to pay your closing costs, that means I'm still getting you in the house free, no money out of your pocket. You will have to have your deposit. So it's an excellent time still to buy. We still trying to navigate through the protecting ourselves against COVID, and the inspectors. We're working those things out daily, and we've been on calls daily trying to narrow down those protocols.
Got it. Thank you for that. Nicole is just asked, and I'll pitch this to you, Sage. I was in the process of purchasing a rental property, but my lender changed some of the terms and conditions, and I no longer qualify. How can I purchase land and properties with cash?
Oh, wait, I keep having to unmute myself. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so I think that you were in a program with a lender, and you were purchasing investment property, and the terms changed with maybe credit or some of the things that they are no longer allowing with programs, and you want to know how you purchase with cash. It depends on what kind of property you want to purchase, because rental property, usually you'd have to have a nice amount of money to be able to purchase it, like a double or a fourplex, because so many people are into investing right now, that most of the properties, they're going to be maybe like 100,000 up, and then you may have to do some work with that. Now that's great if you have a team to have something and put something back together and be able to do it that way. But you can absolutely, if you have the money, if you have the liquid money, you can purchase a property with cash. There are other alternatives. And let me just say this, although the lender that you were with changed some terms or may not be able to qualify you for what you're trying to do, shop around. You know, sometimes what one lender can't do, another one will. They have another program that they can possibly put you into. So shop around for lenders. Don't just exit all the way out, you know, just because that particular lender can't do it for you. There are other lenders out there who have different programs and different things that you can get into, but you can absolutely purchase with cash if you have the liquid to do that.
Right. And Elena, I would suggest that she try her private banks. Gulf Coast Bank and Bank of Louisiana is lending, always have. The criteria is less stringent with them. They're good people to affiliate yourself with, but you will have to have 25% down of the entire project, and they like to see 3 months reserves in the bank.
3 months, wow, that's good.
Mm-hmm. That's standard on investment property. 25% down and 3 months reserves. That's pretty much standard.
Got it, got it. Okay. Demi, wanted to pitch this to you. For someone who's trying to buy their house for the very first time, what will be the first step for them in order to start the home buying process?
Well, in order to start the home buying process, my suggestion is to first, of course, begin saving. Secondly, know your credit scores, know where you are credit-wise. Then I would suggest that they reach out to a lender, a mortgage broker, or a bank to find out if they're financially fit, credit-worthy, and what's their buying power. So after they're taking care of their own personal business, please reach out to a lender to find out what your buying power is.
Good. Dr. O'Neal, are there any programs for professional educators?
No, HUD still has their Teacher Next Door program that they will allow you to buy with only $1 down. Those houses and that's for Teacher Next Door and Officer Next Door. With those particular programs, the house has to be within a certain mile radius of the school that they teach or the precinct and where the officer works at. And that's only $1 down. If you're in the state of Georgia, Georgia gives teachers a boost, and that boost is a $6,500 benefit. And I'm saying that because I know we have people all over the country that's listening in today because we put it on Instagram. Louisiana does not have a teacher boost right now.
Got it. Okay, next question. I'm going to pitch this to Sage. What's the best advice for a person who is a 1099 employee in regards to qualifying for a home loan? What are the general qualifying parameters for anyone who's 1099? And do we require a longer, steady stream of income? If so, what's the time period?
That's a great question. Especially right now, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are birthing right now. So with 1099, if you're self-employed, independent contractor, 1099, it's very, very important. Documentation is very important. You are going to need your taxes. Another thing that is very important is your taxes. You're going to need your taxes for the last 2 years. The lender's going to want to see that. They have to be done. And also a lot of times when we go to do our taxes, especially as business owners, we look for all the things that we can write off. So that we don't owe as much money, or, we want to try and get a refund, or just, try to maximize the money that we get. Well, when you know that you want to purchase a home, we want to kind of lax on the things that we are writing off, because as Demi was talking about buying power, when it comes to your taxes, they're going to go off what you put on those taxes or what you claim to have made. So if you actually made, let's just say $100,000 that year, but you wrote off so much to now where your adjusted gross income came down to maybe 60, well, the lender's going to qualify you based on that amount, right? So your buying power goes down. So that's one thing. Your taxes, you want to make sure that you're doing those correctly. You're not writing a whole bunch of stuff off, so that you can qualify for a decent amount to be able to purchase a home. They're going to look at your bank statements. So your taxes, your bank statements, where your income is coming from. And they do generally want to see, most of the lenders that I work with, they want to see about 2 years, same as you would if you were on a 9-to-5 job.
Got it. And the last part of that question, are there many empty lots in New Orleans, and do you guys work with purchase of land as well?
Absolutely. Yes, we all do land purchases, and there is quite a bit of land in areas like your lower Ninth Ward. The East has some land that you can build on, some on the West Bank, but mostly like your Ninth Ward area, New Orleans East. And I want to tell people, don't sleep on those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't look like, everything that's already developed. When you get into the investment, you want to purchase and you want to invest on the edge of development, not when it's already done and pretty. So purchasing land in those areas is a great idea.
Yeah.
Elena.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to chime in on what Sage has already said. When I purchased my home, I was a 1099 employee as well. So when you're purchasing a home, or when you desire to purchase a home as a 1099 employee or self-employed, make sure that you're working with a tax preparer that understands the process of lending, because there is a way that you can write some things off, but the lender can roll those items back in to sustain your income, and it's called depreciation. So when you are working with a tax preparer and you want to purchase a home, make sure that they understand the process and let them know in advance that you are or will be in the near future buying a home, so that they can utilize that depreciation, where the lender can roll some of that income back in and still have an opportunity to use it as a write-off.
Got it. Does it matter how you're set up as a 1099 employment employee? Like, I know how some people will set up as an S Corp or an LLC, and kind of themselves out.
Well, me personally, I was set up as an LLC. That's more something that your tax preparer would have to look at. That's not really a question that I can answer.
Mm-hmm. So as far as selling your current home before purchasing your new one, what would be your suggestion on that, Demi?
Well, I mean, it's kind of up to the particular person, but there is a way that you can actually submit a purchase agreement, requesting to purchase a person's home with a contingency saying that, okay, I'm going to purchase your home, but I will not be able to move forward with the deal until I actually sell my property. It's called a predication. So, I mean, if the person qualifies for both mortgages, well then, yeah, that's one thing. But most people don't qualify to be able to, most of the buyers I work with, let me say that, don't qualify to be able to sell their home and purchase another home at the same time.
Right. Okay. Dr. O'Neal, I know you kind of touched on this, and I wanted to bring it back because it was a direct question that was asked, and that is, how are there still a bunch of open houses being shown and house showings, and how do you navigate that if you really want to purchase a house but you can't get out there to see it?
Well, we are now developing protocols for virtual open houses. So you'll see a lot more of that. Just this week, I had to show about 14 houses, and we did most of them virtually with someone out of town. I'm selling more houses sight unseen, especially to investors, where they go in and we'll just use the inspection period to go in and investigate. We are being extremely careful with showing occupied properties, and many of us are not showing occupied houses yet, but you're going to see an abundance of virtual open houses. That's our new norm as realtors. I think the traditional open house has gone completely away. They didn't work anyway. They just invited the nosy neighbors in, and maybe someone to come in and see our personality, and we would get another client out of it, but they never really sold the house that you're sitting in. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of glad that they're going away. You know, that's our new normal right now. Everything is virtual. The loan process is virtual. We are doing our car closings. We're doing virtual closings. I was a part of the legislation to try to get e-closings here in Louisiana. I was able to get it for the other states, and would you know, Louisiana with its parliamentary law said no.
Yeah.
So you still have to go in. So we're sitting in cars closing, or one person at a time in the office. So that part we haven't mastered yet, but things are changing quite a bit the way we do business right now.
Yeah, it's good that you're on our side pushing for it though.
Yeah, and we need to get more people like the other realtors on the line. Please help us get involved. We need more advocacy with the realtors, staking the case for the people. I always tell them I work in the trenches. You know, I work with the disenfranchised, and some people call them little people, but they're not little people. Those are the middle income class that make this world turn around. And so the people in DC, they don't have a sensitivity to what the middle income class needs to make the economy flow, you know. And back to the investor question, what I wanted to say is that when you're doing your taxes, a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, you have to watch that bottom line. We typically, by the time we get to line 31, want that line as low as possible. So we expense everything that we can possibly expense so that we don't owe the IRS a lot of money. But when you're buying a home, that comes back to haunt you. And so a lot of times you just can't go back and amend your taxes now to make that figure higher. And if you do go back and amend your taxes, the few cases that I have done in the last few years, you're going to have a tax liability, and that tax liability has to be paid up front. That's what I heard. I think it was Demi said that you have to have a tax preparer that fully understands. And a lot of times the lender is going to want to audit that tax return if you're self-employed. Doesn't matter whether or not you're an LLC, because they're going to make you, the principal, now be liable on that loan, even if it's a business loan. I do a lot of jumbo things with churches or big entities, and the corporation can no longer stand alone. It would be the pastor, it would be the owner or whatever. They would have to now personally guarantee that loan. So things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, wow. Okay, I purchased 207 units in New Orleans, and they're in need of extensive rehab, 1.8 million cash. I received a loan approval in an amount of 7 million for rehab. COVID caused the lender to throttle back on the loan. I am concerned that I may not be able to do the project under the new loan terms, especially since I am concurrently working on other similar projects. Are there any network sources available to seek partners to assist with saving the project? The need is not for acquisition, but for joining forces to finance the rehab. Dr. O'Neal, what do you think on that?
There are always network possibilities. They can put it out there and ask someone to do a joint venture with them, but of course that's dangerous because now you're bringing in a partner on a multi-million-dollar project that's going to become a principal in that project. So you have to really evaluate who you're going to bring in and now call them a partner. And is that partner going to be a 50%, 10%, quarter percent? What I would suggest is leveraging the property and trying to borrow the money based upon leveraging the property right now, because there's no other, there's not any loans out there. The good news is that if they just wait a minute, Fannie and Freddie just got back into the market this week, in fact, yesterday. And so they are now backing loans again, and that's gonna open up some money that's available. But if you go to, again, you got to go to your private bank, not your mortgage companies. So your little banks that's on the corner down on Carondelet and St. Charles, you know, the walking community that we've been passing all our lives as children, Citizens, SunTrust, and those banks are still making those type of loans.
Right. Okay, pitching to Sage now. They want to get into real estate investing, but how should they get ready? What would you say the first process if you want to start real estate investing?
Love that question. So investments is kind of my area of specialty and what I like to focus on. Even with first-time home buyers, I like to shift them into first-time investing because it is truly a way to wealth. And so just as you would as a first-time home buyer prepare with having your credit in place, you know, some money's saved up, getting with the lender to figure out what your buying power is, making sure all of those documents are in place. You would do all of those things the same way. I always like to say, buy big the first time. And this is just, you know, what I believe in, what I kind of coach my clients into, to buy big the first time, because you're only going to be a first-time buyer one time. Right, you're only going to be able to reap those benefits of being a first-time buyer one time. You're going to be able to get that 3.5 down, or you may be able to get, you know, some type of 100% financing. So I believe that it is always wise to go in and buy big if you are able to. If you don't have a huge family and you're able to go and you do a double, and you do that double or a fourplex multi-unit, and one of those units you live in, you have to live in it for a year, and then the other ones pay for the property itself. So somebody else is financing your lifestyle. So to answer the question, how you prepare will be the same way as you would as a first-time buyer, having your documents in order, having your credit where it needs to be. And that's basically.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, flipping to you now, Demi. Person purchasing a home and then their offer was rejected. Saying, what should they do if the offer is rejected?
Well, the first thing I would do if my offer was rejected, or my client's offer was rejected, I would go back and I would talk to them about how we went in and placed the offer. Your offer could be rejected for many reasons. It could have been a multiple bid situation, or maybe the seller actually did not like the offer. A lot of times buyers want to come in low, but when the market is aggressive, you need to bid aggressively. So I say, you know, talking to my buyer and explaining to them, because I usually try to explain to them the process and let them know that, you know, if they're serious about this and if this is the house that they truly desire, so let's go in aggressively, and especially if they need closing cost assistance, to go in as aggressive as possible and try to negotiate the deal. But if it just doesn't work out for us, of course, we just gonna get it together, go find another property, and keep the momentum going.
Got it. Okay, this, I'm gonna pitch now to you, Dr. O'Neal. This person was in the middle of purchasing a home, and then she lost her job. So now she is unemployed, and she wanna know if she should still continue the process.
First of all, she needs to get a job again, and it would help if she got there are 2 rules that now needs to be followed. She needs to get another job in the same line of employment. There's a feedback come on one of these lines right now. I don't know if you all are hearing it. She needs to get a job in the same line of work, or if she goes to another profession, it has to be something that is going to increase her living standard, because the underwriter is going to look at that. All right. So if she made $26,000 working at Target, but now she moved and she was working for a disposal company as an administrator, total 2 different lines of work. One was retail, one is administrative. That administrative job had to be a significant increase in standard of her living standard for the loan officer to count now that new job as income without interruption. The only other rule to this is when you finish school with a degree and you're totally out of your discipline or the previous job that you had. Now you're moving to a job that lines up with your new education. That is the only other. So she needs to be very careful as she selects the next job. Okay.
Got it. Going back to the investment property, I see that Deidre is saying, I think it's important that those who are interested in investment properties should also understand what the property taxes are on the home. I've seen this become a major problem for investors. So that's just something, it's a comment, something to keep in mind. So let's flip over to, I'm gonna ask you another question on investment property, Sage, and that's, how do people determine the value of investment property? If you are new to this and you don't really know the ins and outs of it, how do you start the process of determining value?
Definitely partnering with a real estate agent who understands the market, they understand the area. The comps, it depends on if you're gonna buy and hold. Buy and hold means you're gonna buy a property and have rental, you know, tenants in the unit. And so you need to know what the comps are, you know, what is rent going for in that area? You know, is a property gonna pay for itself? If you're looking to buy and flip, you want to invest, you want to flip the property, so you want to get it maybe below market, and you want to put some upgraded, and you want to rehab it, and you want to place it back on the market. You still need to know, what are the homes going for in that area? You know, what were the homes selling for within the last year in that area? You know, what's your profit going to be? What's your margins going to be? So definitely getting with a real estate agent who understands the market and the numbers to help you to navigate and facilitate.
Got it. Demi, what's the difference, first probably you need to say the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market, and where are we currently? Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
So the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market is based on supply and demand. The more buyers that are in the market, it tends to be a seller's market. The more houses that are in the market, it tends to be a buyer's market. I was recently on a webinar and we were discussing the market, and the commentator actually said we're kind of in a neutral market. We have maybe like 4 months of supply right now. We're not overpopulated with houses, and that's only due to the pandemic. We're not overpopulated with houses because houses are going back on, coming back on the market that were actually pending, and buyers are starting to get back out there and purchase. So we're kind of in the middle right now at four months of inventory.
So as far as navigating any special programs this season, kind of flipping it, this is for Dr. O'Neal, but I'm thinking of people who may be struggling with their mortgage, they're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. Or is there anything that's available to them, any type of special programs or anything that they should be doing in order to make sure that they don't lose their home?
If they're struggling right now, I would say take advantage of the forbearance that Freddie, Fannie, and the HUD was willing to give you. HUD was willing to give a 90-day forbearance that is extended for some states. We just found that out on yesterday. With Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, those are conventional mortgages. Those were given out, but they weren't necessarily forbearance. They just allowed you to defer the payments. They can turn into a forbearance later, but you're gonna have to be strategic with that. So take advantage of those things. Yesterday, when the federal government extended the eviction and the foreclosure now to June, it was set to expire in May. I have something here, but now it goes through June, where that added another month to the forbearance privilege. So definitely look and see, call the lender. Okay, I see the forbearance now is extended into June 30th. So definitely call your mortgage company and make sure they know you're having a problem. Where we go wrong is that we don't panic until the last minute. If you know you're having a problem up front, take advantage of those privileges. If you can do better or you don't need the privilege, good, but you need to be able to cry out for help sooner than later.
Yeah, yeah. And they kind of wanted to touch back on it, Dr. O'Neal, because I believe you said it earlier, but what's a good credit score in order to be prepared to purchase a home?
Right now, some lenders, very few, those are your private lenders, and if you don't need home buyer assistance, can maybe still do a 620, maybe. And what I'm saying by that is that remember, these loans have to be sold in the secondary market. So it's just like, okay, my friend Wardell Bourgeois Mortgage. Well, Wardell Bourgeois may approve your loan at a 620, but he has to sell your loan in the secondary market. One of the people that he sells to is E-Trade. And so those are the people who put the private mortgage insurance on your property. They may have the credit criteria that is higher than what Wardell's credit criteria is here at your local lender. So to be safe, I would say a minimum of a 640, but right after the pandemic, that number raised for 80% of the mortgage companies around the country to 680. 680 is your new target number. Carol Johnson from Johnson's Mortgage here in the city can still do a 640, but she's one of the few people that can still do that.
Wow. Okay, Sage, pitching to you, does a forbearance impact your credit score / your rating?
Right now, it is not. That is a part of the whole thing with allowing you to be able to place it on forbearance. It will not impact your credit score. They're not reporting that those payments are late right now. So no, they will not. And I just want to add to what Dr. O'Neal said, if you're having trouble, you need to reach out to your mortgage company immediately and let them know. But I also want to say that if you are able to pay your mortgage, if you're able to pay your normal mortgage, you need to go ahead and do that. I know a lot of times we see it as a way out, and it's available. So I mean, I got it, but I don't want to pay it. It's very important that you pay it because they're not forgiving the mortgage. They're just giving you a forbearance on it. So it's going to come back to a point where you have to pay that. So if you're able to right now, you need to make those mortgage. You need to continue to make those mortgage payments. If you can't, we understand the whole world is going through this, and you reach out to your mortgage company and you let them know. But if you're able to, you need to make those payments.
Yeah, I did hear that. I know with some of the companies, they were like saying you had to pay a full payment. I'm not sure. I know that they were fighting back and forth with that, saying that, okay, you get a 3-month forbearance, but then at the end of 3 months, they wanted the entire amount. I don't know if that's still the case.
But that's not a forbearance, that's a deferment. And
Okay.
so we use those words interchangeably. It was the FHA-backed mortgages, most of them, that was given the forbearance. If you had a conventional mortgage, it was more likely to be a deferment.
Got it. So you definitely have to be specific when you're actually calling to make sure that it's actually a forbearance.
Right.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay, so I'll pitch to you now, Demi. As far as someone who wants to purchase a home and they want to know how much do they have to pay an agent to help them purchase the home?
Well, buyers don't pay agents to purchase homes. Sellers pay commissions. That's a misconception a lot of buyers have, that they're actually paying. The seller pays commissions, and when the listing agent actually lists the properties, they negotiate the commissions along with the listing agreement.
Got it. Sage, how long does it take on average to get a return or to start to see some profit from investing?
It kind of just depends. A lot of my clients, again, having a real estate agent who understands the numbers and the market and the areas and all is very important, because most of my clients that go into investing, even as first-time investors, they begin to see a profit almost right away. Right now we have a 4-plex that's under contract that's about to close. The mortgage payment on it is going to be right around about $1,600. Well, the building itself brings in almost $4,000 a month. So you're talking about a building that pays for itself, and you now have some passive income. So if we're speaking about buying and holding, most of the time, if you buy right, if you make wise decisions when you're investing, then that property you're gonna start seeing some profit right away.
And do you think it's wise to invest in a property such as a condo or a townhouse? She is a senior on a fixed income.
To purchase a condo, everybody's situation is different, it's tailored to what they have, their income, what they can afford, what they have going on. And if you want to purchase a condo apartment for you to live in, I think that is that is a good investment. As far as investing and possibly trying to have someone to maybe rent it out, me personally, I wouldn't do a condo or something of that sort, because for number one, you have to live in it for 1 year, right? So it's not going to bring you any additional monies at that time, but later on you may be able to rent it out. But if she's just purchasing it because that's what, she's on a fixed income and that's what her income allows, certainly anytime you invest in real estate, it's a great decision.
Mm-hmm. Dr. O'Neal, on average, how much would you say if you needed for closing costs?
We do a magic formula of 3% for closing costs, but as someone said earlier, you need to add a little bit on top of that, especially since Louisiana, almost the entire state is a flood zone. And so you could spend $5,000 a year just for flood. And especially for taxes as well. The typical homeowner right now pays more money in taxes and insurance than what they're going to pay for their principal and interest on their home. It means their note is cheaper than what the taxes and the insurance together, all right? And so you need to be careful, and you need to be able to allow for that. in there, but the magic formula is 3%.
Got it. I see.
And also, Elena, I'd like to add to that as well. I know we focus a lot on the down payment and the closing costs, but we want to be mindful. We want to start budgeting for those other costs that come associated with purchasing a home, like your home inspection, your appraisal. Sometimes you'll pay for it, sometimes the lender's going to pay for it, but you need to budget for that. You're going to put down earnest money. Usually it's about $1,000 that you have to put down to let the seller know, hey, I'm serious about this property and I want to move forward with purchasing it. So let's $1,000, then you have your inspections that run maybe between $400 and $700. So you want to budget for those things. And also a lender is going to want you to have at least, most of the time, 3 months reserve in the bank. So that's another thing that we need to budget for. We need to keep in mind and we need to be prepared for. So not just the closing costs in the down payment, but we do have other expenses that happen right in the beginning when you're going out to purchase.
Yeah, it's the same thing when you actually get in the house. You got to prepare for home repairs and all kind of other stuff that could possibly go wrong when you're in it. So it's nice to know of all of the things that you need to think about before you get in it to make sure you're prepared to actually get in there. And I see on the comments on the side here, someone else was saying that basically you also have to think of those HOA fees when it comes down to purchasing condos. So that's something that you definitely should think about. Born and raised in New Orleans, we are very familiar with double houses. I'm gonna come back to you, Sage. Do multi-properties exist in other parishes in abundance? Jefferson Parish, St. Charles Parish, and other parishes nearby?
Very scarce. You will, the West Bank has some multi-units, but Orleans Parish is greater known for having the investment property. New Orleans East, you're not going to have that traditional side-by-side shotgun double, but you are going to have some multi-units in New Orleans East. So every area pretty much in the city has it, but it's scarce in the areas outside of Orleans Parish.
Mm-hmm. Demi, coming to you, how long on average would you say does it take to purchase a home?
To purchase a home on average, it's usually 30 to 60 days, depending on the lender and the complexities of the actual loan application. But I also wanted to piggyback on what Sage just said, Elena. Most people say multifamily, fourplexes, or investment properties. Single homes can also be used as investment properties. Single homes are more attractive to renters as well because they get the feel of renting and still being able to live in a home where they don't have a neighbor right next door.
Right. Yeah, makes good sense. Dr. O'Neal.
Let me touch on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's the point.
When we speak about investment, we're speaking about something that's paying you back. Any real estate investment that you make, be it a single, a double, a multifamily, fourplex, a building, it is always a wise choice and investment because it's always going to pay you back. Maybe not at this point, but in the later future when you go to sell and you have equity in the property, it's going to pay you back. But when we talk about investment property and we talk about investors wanting to get in, they want to get in because they want to start to see some property. They want to flip it, or they want to, if you're going to do investment and you're going to do multifamily, that means that you have passive income coming from all of these units, right? And so most of the time when people are first time getting into investment property, you have to live in a property for a year. So that's why it's important to get multifamilies. If you are already investing, you've been investing for a while, sure enough, it is attractive and you can get renters into a single family home. But first starting out, I always suggest that you buy big first. And that means you need to get a multifamily.
Got it. Now, let me ask you this, just as from someone who's actually having some issues on the opposite side, I guess, of the pandemic as a lender. What if a tenant refuses to pay rent? How should they handle that?
Well, I would, as soon as possible, go ahead and file the eviction so that when the courts are open, they can get that tenant out. I'm having the same situation right now. I did file. We just can't legally get them out. They just refuse to pay. Many of them thought that this pandemic excused them from paying rent. It only allowed them not to be thrown out, so that landlords would not take unreasonable steps to evicting them. It was their protection against that type of thing. But it did not excuse them from paying rent. And so many of them have now taken that as a liberty. But I would urge the landlord now to go and file, because what the tenants don't understand is that most of these properties have mortgages on them, and that the landlord still has to pay even though they're not paying. And they lose sight of that. And so the protection goes both ways. So yeah, definitely go file the eviction. And I like to go back to the investment. One word that I didn't hear was capitalization rate, or we just say cap rate. It's important, if you're going to invest in property, you have to work with your accountant. That the property, like I heard Demi said that the note is $1,600, but it has $4,000 of income. You may not see that because of taxes and insurance, the spread, or you may not be able to see that because of the of how you're classified with the IRS as far as your income status. So sometimes what may be able to, what you think is income is not true income. You may be penalized in the end. So you have to know what your cap rate is going in. And that's where the accountant comes in. So most the amateur investor is not going to understand that until after they file their taxes the first time. The experienced investor is going to go in, and when they call me, they say, what's the cap rate? They're looking for me to give them a number on what the cap rate is going to be. And that's after taxes, insurance, and that's per bracket. Do you file single, head of household? Are you doing LLC? So it's a lot that goes into when you're buying investment property, so that you can truly see a profit. So that's why Sage was saying it's very, very important to work with a realtor, because we can help you understand the other people that you need to make this work for you.
Good. While we're on you, Dr. O'Neal, in your company, do you capitalize on opportunities to encourage your clients on the importance of taking care of God's business, and in turn, Him taking care of your business?
Yes. I know that, first of all, I am anointed to do what I do. I know that, and I realized that many, many years ago after getting into the business. In addition to that, everything I do is kingdom building. The opportunities that I get and the opportunities that I present to other people. And so even when I sell houses to a lot of people that's even non-believers, they sometimes question me when I'm laying hands on a house to another, and they say, "What you doing?" Or I'm working with people from not a denomination who worship like I worship. I'm in there sometimes speaking in tongues under my breath. So yeah, everything that we do, we are a sanctified, always have been, Holy Ghost filled company that works in multiple states. That's how we roll. And if you want to work with me, hey, that's how we roll. We are believers. And that's the only reason why I've been able to be here 30 years. I've weathered so many storms. This pandemic has turned out to be no harder than anything else. The only challenge I have is that I have to do it from behind the computer and figure that out, and still figure how to connect with people, do virtual open houses. But we've weathered. When I first got in, the interest rates were 16 and 17%. Imagine that. Okay, we stood on our head doing financing for people, and we got everybody in, and that was the late 80s and 90s. Okay, Hurricane Katrina, the mortgage crisis of 2008, we have gone through that. And so it's by the grace of God that we are still here. And in my position as president of the Louisiana Realtors, the Women Council, that permeates throughout our leadership, throughout my leadership with the people here. So it's not just us. We permeate the spirit organization-wide. Bishop Love can attest to that. He's been there, you know, and he's been there, he's seen us, you know. So thank you for mentioning that, Bill.
Yeah. Coming to you, Sage. Can someone explain how purchasing works with student loans that are in deferment?
So right now, actually your student loans, well, for the lenders that I work with, because again, all lenders, you know, are different, but I think this is pretty standard. Your loans cannot be in deferment, especially now. Or if you have, I know a lot of people have loans, maybe just graduated and they have student loans. You have to get those into an income-based repayment plan and get it started to make repayments again for you to be able to qualify for a loan. And that's just what the lenders that I deal with. They don't, your student loans cannot be in deferment. You have to have a payment plan. The other ladies may have some other things going on with their lenders, but that is what mine.
Right, and that's for an FHA mortgage, because they're gonna count 1% of all of your loans that's due. And so let me use myself for example. So my loans are still like $100,000. So 1% of that would be $1,000 payment. That's on an FHA loan. But if I get a conventional mortgage, I don't have to worry about that as long as they are deferred or in good standing. But for FHA, even if they are deferred, they count 1% as a payment, even if I don't have to pay them yet. Even if I'm still in school, they still count that as a debt against you, and that lowers your debt income ratio.
Got it.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and Elena, can you hear me? Okay, also, that $1,000 does take away from their income. So that's something to think about when you're actually purchasing. Even though you may make $60,000 or $5,000 a month, that $1,000 is deducted from your income, and that leaves you $4,000 to actually purchase a home.
Got it. Okay, I have a couple more questions in here in the comments. I'm gonna try and get to them really quickly. Sage, would you recommend a HELOC for those who have equity in their home or family property to purchase investment property? You're still muted.
Oh, you unmuted me, I muted myself back. He's asking about a HELOC. So that is a home equity loan. So if you, I know for a minute, the lenders were not doing any HELOC. They weren't doing any home equity loan. But if you're able to get a lender who's gonna do that home equity loan for you, I do think it's a good idea, because right now the interest rates are very low. They're historically low. So if you had a higher interest rate, and now your interest rate is a little bit lower, I think it's a good idea for you to do a HELOC. You just have to get a lender who's gonna.
Okay, Demi, can a husband and wife be first-time buyers separately? First-time home buyers separately?
If they're purchasing together, well, no, they can't be. So you're asking if the husband buys a house and then the wife buys a house, if they're married and they have bills together, then the lender will consider both of their bills and the house will come up on a title. So you cannot purchase a house as a first-time home buyer married at the time that you actually purchased the home. Now, if you were married and that person purchased a home and then you get married and then the other party purchases a home, then it's just depending on the product that each individual lender has.
Got it. And Dr. O'Neal, how do you acquire equity in your home?
Equity is acquired either by putting a significant amount down or staying in the house long enough for the house to appreciate, okay, in value.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much. I saw this question and I wanted to save it for last so that each one of you could speak on it. Are you currently accepting clients? And if so, how do people get in contact with you?
Danette O'Neal, Danette O'Neal Realtors. We are Danette O'Neal Realtors on all social media platforms. You can go to DanetteO'NealRealtors.biz and on the internet as well, and contact us here. Our number is easy, 365 REAL, 365 Real.
Elena, yes, I am accepting new clients. I am Demi as a realtor on Instagram, Demi Miller, realtor on Facebook, Demetria Angela Miller on Facebook. My phone number is 504-430-4490.
And Sage.
Yes, I am always accepting new clients. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Sold by Sage. You can call me 504-373-3023.
Thank you all so much for jumping on. Once again, I hope y'all, I just added all of their information into the chat box. So please check them out, screenshot it, and reach out to them. I'm sure in this short hour, you've learned a lot, but they can definitely help you achieve your goal of investing, getting a home, or whatever you're trying to accomplish. So make sure that you reach out to them. Thank you guys so much. Bishop?
Thank you so much, Elena, to Dr. O'Neal, to Demi, and to Sage. Job well done. Job well done. And at the end of the day, to all the people that's on, many of the questions that you have can be answered by your real estate agent. I would encourage you to contact one or all of them to see how can you purchase a home, how can you invest in a home, how can you invest in a business, how can you invest in property. There's just so many different ways that you can be blessed during the process, and particularly those who are first-time home buyers. There's a way for you to do, there's a way for you to own a home, and now you're basically paying rent. You're basically paying rent. You're basically giving money away. I'm sure they can show you exactly how to do that. So thank you all so much, and look forward to next week. Right here.
Next week is Memorial Day, everyone. So we will be off next week, and we will start back up on June 1st. So we will see you guys then.
We'll see you on June 1st, right here on Monday. Have a great day. Thank you all.
Bye.